production. Good evening, gentlemen. This is Sir Yeetus, and I'm here with episode 47 of Yeetus's Thoughts. And I put in my community tab yesterday about the topic I'm going to be talking about tonight because it has not been talked about enough whatsoever. Yeah, we talk about model women's individual issues and how they mess up their own relationships and bag and etc. etc. But not too many times we talk about model women how they, pretty much fucked up society in general. And there's complete proof. And the fact that these very same women that fucked up society is complaining about it. More specifically, there's not enough masculine men to go around. There's no masculine men. Oh, where the good men at? Oh, what is going on? Oh, who's raising these men? Who has the most influence on these men? Who are the ones that are molding these men in their image? But then later on, they want to be repulsed by it. We're definitely going to be getting to that very soon. But for the time being, I'm going to invite somebody, the one, the only, Finger Banger. What is going on?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Yeetus. Thank you for having me on the stream. How we doing?
I am doing phenomenal. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that guy Pete on here as well because he will definitely have good insight. Before we begin, let me cruise through these comments. Let me cruise.
All
Let's see
right.
what's going on. Yeah, talk about some random stuff
Yep.
with the emoji with chickens and mushrooms. Once again, Rishi, he's very busy in his personal life right now. He will show up when he can. You guys have seen him showing up before. But at the moment, what's going on in his personal life takes top priority.
Yep. That's
Nothing
right.
devastating, but he needs to focus on that first. He'll come back, don't worry. All right. Do. See if I. Of course. Of course, Midtown Podcast. Of course. Yeah. I'm late. Yeah, of course. Of course, Midtown. I'm 1 second late. Let me keep going. Repeal the 19th. I agree. I agree. We'll see if we can get into that later. Oh, you already here? Well, goddamn, bro. Goddamn. Hold up.
Bring him in.
Tap the clipboard. That guy Pete. I want him to join immediately. See, that's how you get rumors started. No. All right, Rishi's not locked in my basement. I don't even have a basement. I live in an apartment. Jesus Christ. All right. We're just going to get right down to it. And before we do, we're going to chill in the beginning, y'all. If you want to support this channel, the Warband in general, please click on the link that I pinned on top of the chat and donate to paypal.me/Yeetus. All money will go towards to the production of my channel or anything that the Warband needs. Any donation is appreciated. All right. You know what? I'm at Gray too. What's going on, Gray?
Evening. Working on some UI right now. So
All right, too easy. We're gonna start with Fingermaker. So, Fingermaker, what is your overall stance on? It's not the fault of quote unquote toxic masculinity. It's the lack of masculinity. What's your overall perspective on that?
Well, I absolutely agree. it's definitely a lack of masculinity in this world today, which is why we're having the problems that we're having. You know, they say that there's a patriarchy, but it's not a patriarchy. It's more of a matriarchy. But I believe that you know, it's like you said earlier. It's the women that are raising these men. So who's to blame here? And by and large, they get they get, you know, more time with the children when there's a separation or divorce. They'll have the children, you know, most of the time, or have primary custody, and get that child support and access to the ex's pensions and such. And he's not allowed to see the children near as much as she is, and her new man is, that doesn't care about the kids. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. I mean, I don't even know where to start with it. One of the things that you brought up was repealing the 19th. I think that would be a huge help. That has to happen at some point, or there's not going to be a country left. That's one of the issues.
Do you want to elaborate on why the 19th should be repealed? Because I got a couple reasons why. But
yeah, I'd like to. Sure, I'd like to throw my 2 cents on that. The reason why is traditionally, back in the day, you had to be a man to vote, and you also had to be a property owner. Well, nowadays, anyone can vote just about, as long as you're not a felon, and they're even trying to change that, by the way. But now
a property owner. What else you got to do as a man?
I'm not sure. Where are you going with this one? Go ahead.
Going to war.
There you go. That's right. 18 years old. I got my selective service script in the mail. I had to sign that and agree to sign that, you know, or not. And if I didn't answer that when the time comes, I would have been court-martialed. I remember when I got that in the mail, and I had my own selective service number that they gave me right at 18 years old as a man. That's right.
Yes.
So one of the issues with women voting, this is the thing that people have to understand. Women do not think logically as much as men do. Women are more apt to think with their emotions and their feelings, and not really thinking at all, but just using the way that they feel.
Thank you for clarifying that, finger banger. Women not thinking logically as much as men. That's the key thing. We're not saying women are stupid.
Right.
That's not what we're saying.
That's right. We're not saying that. But the problem is that someone that thinks with their feelings more than their logic is someone that can be easily manipulated, which is where we're having the problem today. And by and large, women on average vote for liberal policies that they help to bring the fabric and the structure of the country down. Because that party that propouts those things, that's what they stand for. And they know how to manipulate those feelings, and they get them to, you know, to vote in their direction. If women didn't vote, the left would never win an election. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not a Republican either, but it's a hell of a lot better 50, 60 years ago. Wouldn't you agree? As it got worse.
They want to target the demographic that relies on free handouts.
Right.
Which is minorities and women.
Right. Yep.
I'm not saying
big boy
all,
there.
okay.
Not all.
But majority.
Not all. That's right. That's right. And Big Boy says right there, women are the majority of the voting base, and that's correct. That's the problem. Got to take away that right to vote, and then many of these issues will begin to resolve in time.
Well, do you believe because many men gave up?
Yeah, many men gave up and decided to take a back seat to their wives in the home, and men just became women stopped being in their place and men stopped taking their place, so women took it. And it's been a generational increase in that over time. Now the men don't know if they should wear a skirt or a pair of pants, and neither do the women.
Oh, that's we're gonna get into that later. We definitely want to talk about that, but Gray, same question at you. what is your perspective on? It's not the quote unquote toxic masculinity's fault, but it is the lack of masculinity.
Well, the simplest point is to, on the baseline, agree. But I'm also going to take a look at toxic masculinity specifically. Because let's get into the scenario where it's like, okay, single mother, like the mother is the one who has the choice of which male raises the children, whether it's the father, her new boyfriend, or the government. So the ideal masculinity is a good father figure who is biologically linked to the child. But every single mother either drives off a good man or chooses a bad boy. Now, if we're going to look at, well, what is toxic masculinity, that would probably be bad boys. The poor male, like the poor quality males that are either lazy bums or, like, you know, just outright violent.
Okay.
So, like, if we're going to look at, like, yes, there's many kids who grow up in man deserts where they don't get any male influence whatsoever. But those that do probably don't get a good, strong male influence. And if it is a strong male, it's usually a violent one rather than one that demands respect.
Right.
Or commands respect. Demanding and commanding are slightly different.
So, how do you feel about society not having that same energy for toxic femininity?
Well,
Pretty much
just
radical feminism.
Well, honestly, I'm just kind of numb to it.
Right.
You had to get, like, how do I feel? It's like, I'm kind of numb. Like, I can't even really be outraged by it.
Because at this point, that type of mentality is encouraged, right?
That's the thing. I wouldn't even say encouraged so much as expected. It's the default. Like, if you opened up a new Word document and the back page was all text was white, you'd think it was weird, but that's because you're so accustomed to a white sheet of paper with black text.
Okay.
So, like, that's just it. Like,
So who
feminism,
has
toxic feminism is just, it's the expected. It's like you turn on the TV. What's the typical man? It's the Homer Simpson. It's the Peter Griffin.
right?
Like, a man is either incompetent or he's evil. Like, that's just the default.
Hey, Fingerbanger, you're typing a whole essay over there.
My apologies, sir.
Living up to his name.
Seriously, just yeah. But here's the big thing. I'm gonna be asking the chat as well. I'm gonna be doing it in a poll. On men in general. Wait, no, in society. So based on what you know, Fingerbanger, who has more influence on men in society, men or women?
From the looks of it, it looks like women do. Women have more influence on the way that men think, because most men are thinking with their little heads. They'll do whatever it takes to get a whiff of that puniti, you know. And the weak men, of course. And then the ones that aren't weak, the ones that are in positions of power, well, they'll sway the voting system or the laws or so whatever they need to do to make more money and profit off of that way. Profit off of the weak men. Such as, let's look at back in the day whenever women were started voting, started working in the workplace. That was, say for instance, you had, say you had 8 pieces of a pie cut in 8 even pieces, 8 slices. Well, everything worked fine with 8 men taking those slices. But now when you added women to the workplace, now you have 16 slices. Now everybody gets less. Everybody gets less. And now the family is disjointed.
Right.
From the proper balance that it was meant to be in. Where the father works, he brings home the bacon, as they used to say, and the woman maintains her household and takes care of her family. That was the order.
So would you say that men are in charge of producing, building, and maintain society, while women are in charge of the culture of society?
I definitely believe that women are a reflection of the health of a society. So like the state of the women reflect the health of the society, if that makes sense. That's the best way that I could answer that. Now I believe that of course men, we maintain everything that makes the gears turn. We're the ones that innovate and create, and we build the roads and keep everything going. But again, women are a reflection of the health of a nation. If you look at the women, it tells you a lot. That's the best way I could say.
All right, Finger Banger. Gray, what do you have to say about the question I just asked?
Well,
do you want me to repeat the question, or?
I'm trying to figure out how to word it. So, in the basic sense, yes, the women are the ones who end up controlling the culture, but that's because they get the most time spent with the children.
Exactly.
From the time when the children are infants up to the point where they can join their fathers in whatever work, they are primarily going to be exposed to the mother, other children, and the women remaining in the village. Male influence at a young age is going to be very sparse no matter what your society is, even going back to cavemen.
Right. I agree. I definitely agree with that one. Okay. Because he's out there doing his thing, trying to get resources for the most part. And he can't really do much when it comes to teaching boundaries, teaching right from wrong, and all that stuff if the kid can't even understand yet.
Yeah, like even if he's around, like even if like the guy's sticking around, like unless he's like the male ones that's going to have the most prominence would be the elderly men. Like the ones who've been around a long time. They're not in the physical state to go out and do active things. But like, you'd get like your village chieftain, your storyteller.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Because everybody, men and women, pretty much looks up to older or elderly, but more specifically elderly men. Men and women.
Yeah. But like even then, like earliest in a child's life for the greatest quantity of time is going to be the mother.
Yes.
Now, in that regard too, though, like that is also lacking in society because before, like where you would have the mother spending time with the child the majority of the day, now we send the kid off to school, which is basically like it's daycare. We send the kid off to daycare, whether it's privately funded or government funded, because that is what most education is. It is state-sponsored daycare.
Pretty much. I have nothing to say about that. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. You got something to say, Finger Bigger?
No, I really don't have much to add to it. He put it very well. Very good, Gray. Your explanation on that was excellent, on point. I would have said the same thing.
Well, Island Hermit, he has a thing that I want you guys to address. There's a reason why all cultures had a time where the boys were taken away from the mothers and put into the world of the father, and they had to complete some difficult task to become a man. What do you have to say about that, Fingerbanger?
Well, that harkens back to ancient times and how they handled their boys. I think that's definitely a good blueprint to go back to. As they say, strong men create good times. And here's one thing that I've known, and we all know as men. Men are not born; they're made. You can take it. A little girl can be born into the world, and she can be taught a few things about to be ladylike and such. But there's nothing grand about that. But for a young boy to be molded into something tougher and harder and stronger, that's something completely different. That's a creation in itself after being born. As if you leave young men to themselves and you let women raise them, oftentimes you get a delinquent or you get a very weak man. That's the outcome.
The closest I can think of is this. I don't know if you guys watch LA Beast. He was my dude years ago. He's been on YouTube for a long time. He went to this tribe where he had the rite of passage where a boy becomes a man. He put his hands into 2 mittens full of bullet ants, and they had to dance together for a certain amount of time.
Yep.
That's the closest that I can see of today's world of a rite of passage. Men. I will say Western men don't even have a rite of passage anymore.
They don't. Well, I'll tell you what, I remember my dad growing up, and he was always, he was hard on me. And look, at the time, I thought he was just an asshole. But I didn't realize that he was doing a work on me. He was working on me and trying to build me. He's trying to change me, make me more than just where I was at then. And he would always give me that look whenever I did something that he thought wasn't becoming for me growing into a man. He would just give me this look, this side-eye look, and I was like, oh, shit. And I understand what he was doing now. And he would beat my ass, too. He would ground me. He was tough. He would put me out and put me to work or something. He'd say, you're going out in the yard today. You're not playing around this weekend. You're getting to work.
Yeah, sounds like
you're going to go out. Oh, that's right. Well, that means he was a good dad. He loved you. He loved you enough to be hard on you, which is what men need. They have to have that. You can't treat a boy like a pussy. I'm sorry, excuse my language. You can't treat him like a wimp.
Good.
Or that's what he'll be is a wimp.
Well, I'm sure your dad told you the same thing. Like my dad, ever since I was at least preteen, teenager, he says I am harsh at times, and I do apologize if I do go too far at times, which I got respect for my dad. He did apologize later on for, if he went too far on certain punishments. But he was concerned of my future in the sense of what if something happens to him?
Yep.
So that put me in a whole different perspective. Like, you know what? I see why my dad did what he did.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember him sending me out into the big yard, and we had a lot of trees. And he'd send me out there, and he'd say, here's your job today. He said, you see all those pine cones all across the yard, front and backyard, by the way. You're going to pick up every single one of them by hand, put them in this wheelbarrow. You're going to dump them on the burn pile.
All the pine cones? Fuck.
All the pine cones. Every single one of them. And when you're done, you're going to weed eat the entire yard. The ditch, around the bushes, all along the fence, each side, around the house.
How old were you?
He started doing that when I was I'd say about 9 years old. About 9. Oh, yeah. My dad was tough. But you know what I mean? But look, look at the outcome. If my dad had not been that hard on me, very possibly, I wouldn't be here in the stream talking to you right now.
Right.
That's a fact. I know this. I would not be as based as I am now.
And is your father still around?
Oh, absolutely. I love my dad. Me and him are very close. We're very close.
Still kicking?
Oh, yeah. He's still kicking. He's still kicking. Now, he's mellowed a lot. He's in his older age, he's mellowed out a lot, but, he passed that on to me. He passed that iron into my soul, and I'm thankful for that. I would not have lasted this long if he ain't done that to me when I was a young man and put that iron in my soul young.
I've noticed that parents, but more specifically dads, I've noticed that they're able to take a breather and chill out once they determine that you're ready for the real world and you don't need him anymore. That's when I see dads finally taking a breather and chilling out. Chilling the fuck out, because that's the only reason why. See, and society wanna why do dads treat daughters different than sons? I'm like, you don't understand. I'm sure figure maker.
Absolutely. Well, here's the reason. Here's the thing. You can be hard on your daughter as a father, but if you're not careful, you'll make her too masculine, and that's the danger of that. No man wants a masculine woman, unless you got those dudes that are into tomboys, which there are those. But
yeah, masculine.
I don't want a
very afraid.
Either one of those, yes. Yeah, make her very timid.
I know it's different. I know, a young boy could be afraid too. Yeah, I understand, but I'm talking about even in teenage years, even near adulthood. She knows, at least she knows deep down, damn, I can't do what my father wants me to do per se. And if I keep disappointing him, if I keep pissing him off, I'm going to be avoiding him. I'm going to be afraid of him. And that's, if I do have a daughter, hypothetically, that's not the thing that I want. Don't get me wrong. I've enforced boundaries, but how life goes, the boundaries are more harsh with the son than a daughter.
They are. And now I had my daughters with me today. I had them with me. And yes, gentlemen, for those of you that do not know, that are listening, I am divorced. I've been there and back. That's why we're all here. We learned something along this way. And I had my daughters with me today, and I made her something to eat, and she poured her crap into my sink. I had a very clean sink. She poured it. She didn't clean up the bowl and left my sink all nasty and shit. I said, "What is this?" "Oh, I didn't know what to do with it." I said, "Well, you better clean it up." "Well, I don't know how." I said, "You better figure it out." I said, because no man wants to marry a young woman that don't know how to do nothing. You better learn how to clean. I ain't going to show you how. There's your soap. Get to work. Figure it out. And, and that's how I talk to them. I'm like, I'll tell them that all the time. You want a good man? Yep. You want a man that's kind of like your daddy? Yeah. Well, you're going to have to earn that. You're going to have something. You got to bring something to the table that's worthy of that.
And if you can't clean a sink, go ahead. That's a big thing with my dad personally. After he shows me a few times, if I don't get it, he'll give me time to figure it out. Like, you know what? Hey, I showed you multiple times. Now you got to use your private problem-solving skills, at least when it comes to fixing and building something as a young man.
Yep.
Like here's the instructions. Start building, not That's too different than your daughter, not figuring out how to, clean certain like pots and pans or something. Like, all right, so what do you do with that? Because it has to be clean. You're not leaving until it's clean.
That's right. Right.
Oh shit. Oh boy. Okay.
Good stuff.
What'd you say?
I said good stuff, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, which is and once again, gentlemen, I I don't have daughters, but even if I don't have daughters, I can clearly tell the difference between how daughters are treated and sons are treated. I hate it. I really hate to my core how these modern mothers are so, oh, why don't you treat them the same? Why don't you treat them the same? Because you're not the same. Sons and daughters are not the fucking same.
That's right.
Fuck. What do you got to say about that, Gray?
Well, going back to the earlier part, actually, about kind of like men fitting in, like men finding their place in society and how long they stick around. Like we had two practices later on. Like first, you had kind of the Renaissance era, where you had the workshop idea, where basically as soon as a kid was old enough to follow instructions, well, as soon as a man was old enough to follow instructions, like 6, 8, like he was tossed into a trade. Like even if he was just moving shit around and not doing anything important, like he'd start out as an apprentice in a shop for quite some time. And then going back not even that far, you had the school system segregated into boys and girls. And you had male teachers at the man's school, and you had female teachers at the girls' school. And the idea of a co-ed classroom was completely unheard of.
Right.
So, like, that changed a lot as well, because even when you're trying to make, like, if your objective is, okay, we need these men to be functional men at the age of 18 or whatever. We need them to be shoved into the factories as soon as they're of legal age, and we just need them to not die until we hit that point. Like, still having them raised by, even if it's the government raising them during the day, it's still men teaching them. Whereas instead, you had what happened more recently with the Boy Scouts. The women cried that it wasn't fair. And so then it became a mixed classroom, but you can't elevate.
But did they eventually segregated themselves?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that boys and
I have
girls
to look
still
it up
do.
again. They eventually, even when they mix together, combine together, the boys club and the girls club, the women still separated the
Well, no,
girls.
that's the thing. Now there's the co-ed scouts and the Girl Scouts.
So I was like, what the fuck? So what was the point of you trying to take over the Boy Scouts?
Well, that's the thing, because the thing is now it's the co-ed scouts where it's the Boy Scouts, but there's girls in it, and the Girl Scouts where there's no boys allowed.
Right.
But that's what happens with the school system. Like, you can't, since they couldn't raise women up to the level of boys, because you can't. Instead, what happens is they instead make it so that, okay, here's now women teaching the boys' curriculum specialized for women. So emphasis on objectivity goes down and subjectivity goes up. It's more about the process. It's more about the reading and the writing and sitting down and being quiet.
I definitely see what you're saying, man. I agree what you're saying. We're going to elaborate on that very soon, but at the moment I'm going to be inviting 3 more people because my shit's already getting full. Fuck. But the guest of the hour that I want to invite in the first place, that guy Pete.
What's up, Ye? I'm sorry, man. My microphone, it wasn't recognizing my shit, but I got it to work, so I'm here. Puniti, Buddha.
Puniti. Before I invite the other, the other 3, what is your perspective on the topic right now?
I mean, yeah, if you're talking about masculinity, you hit me up on my video. It's pure coincidence that I actually made a video about this today as well. But in that video, I basically said, like, as a man, whether you like it or not, it again, I think Fingerbanger, it was you that said that the way the women behave is a reflection of our society. So when the men are weak, that leaves a power vacuum. The women start getting all masculine and strong and independent and shit. But then when the men lay down the law, they fall in line. So yeah, I think regardless of how society is, when it comes to LTR material, women have this unspoken expectation of protection, provision, and leadership. And you can bitch, piss, and moan about hypergamy all you want. That's what they want. And women can bitch, piss, and moan all they want, but whether they want to admit it or not, we want beauty, we want modesty, we want femininity, and we want character. And if they don't have it, they're not LTR material. But I think what we have in modern society now is like they're trying to like set it up in such a way where women are allowed. Again, I think we always say that women are modern, but men are expected to be traditional. So women are able to shirk their responsibilities and not hold up their end of the bargain. And then they think men are going to lead, protect, and provide for them when there is no future in investing in modern women in the West. So again, in short, I think, yes, masculinity is important. I think men should embrace it for themselves, not for some box. And but yeah, no matter what type of society we're in, Western or otherwise, just understand as a man, protection, provision, and leadership is the burden of performance. That's always going to be there. There's nothing you can really do about that.
So how do you say about the women that complains about not having these things, yet they're the very same ones that raise these very effeminate soy boy simp beta cucks?
Right. Well, how did these women become single moms? I mean, yes, there are ones that got divorced. Yes, there are widows. That's a little bit of a different situation. But a lot of these single moms, like I think you said in another podcast, they chose this path. They let Chad go in raw. They took the zinc shot. And now they want to bitch, piss, and moan. But here's the thing. These women do not have masculine skills, nor do we expect them. In fact, them acting masculine repulses us. It makes us not want to commit to them. So what they're doing essentially is they're trying to LARP like men, as you say, but all they know how to put out is what they've learned as girls. So then they say, oh, no, it's not men. Masculinity is toxic because I lack the ability to teach that. And because I lack the ability to teach masculinity, I have to label it toxic. I have to label it as a bad thing so that my curriculum as a single mother is the only correct curriculum.
And then accountability is a woman's kryptonite.
Correct. They're going to rationalization hamster that shit right out of the household. And yeah, I remember when Chronic, he was talking to that guy you had on the show. I forgot what the hell his name was. He was the guy that maybe married that girl because it might have been a smart business decision or whatever the fuck it was.
Chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic. There you go. And Chronic was talking about how the government was deliberately saying like, hey, we'll get you on welfare if there's no father in the house. First off, the race stuff aside, we know exactly why the fuck they did that. But I think, yeah, that was a big part of ground zero in destroying masculinity. If you cut off the father from the kids, again, those girls are not going to know what men want. And it's clear modern women do not know what men want, nor do they care. And the boys, they're completely lost. They don't know what being a leader is. You tell these guys, you could have standards too. They're like, I could have standards? Yes, you can have standards, but these guys don't even know what the correct standards are because, you know, all they have is this feminist bullshit that just kind of brainwashes them. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was unpacking earlier today in my video. But,
so yeah. I'm going to invite these 3 people and then I'm going to quickly get some food because I am starving. There's food down the street. I am going to get it. So, Real Talk, Special K, and Dr. Red Pill. What's going on?
What's good, bros? Puniti.
Special K, where you at?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sounds like you're dying, bro.
I'm always dying. It's just a stereotype.
Are we all always dying?
Some more than others.
But, where's Figure?
Yo, what's up?
All right, can you keep track of the topic? Keep people on topic. I'm going to ask this question, and then you guys will give an answer. So, when it comes to women while you're young, right? Who are the ones that work in daycare the most? Men or women?
Well, that would be women
Who
across
are
the
the
board.
right? Who are the ones that works as babysitters? Men or women?
Women.
Woman.
Who are the ones that work as teachers? Men or women?
Women. Yeah.
Women. Undeniably.
Who are the ones that, on top of that, are college professors?
Women.
All around, it will be women.
Even though it's a little bit more even, women still have the edge.
Absolutely.
Who are the ones growing up as a child have more influence, men or women?
That-
Okay,
Who
women.
has more
It's
influence?
still a woman.
Because like straight up, like one of the
Just growing up.
earliest.
Just who has more influence on your life as a child growing up?
Well,
Huh.
like that's the thing. Like as a kid, like as a young boy, you are given rules and regulations for how to behave around women. My
Well, that's
understanding is
fine.
the
I'm just
same.
talking about when your mom's around. If your mom's there, who has more influence?
Yeah, Yeet. Are you asking like are kids more
I'm just
prone to feminine or
asking.
masculine influence?
I'm just asking various questions.
Who's
It's
more
just various
prominent
scenarios
than like
on
a
who has
child?
more influence, your mom, your dad, men or women. Because I'm gonna get to my point very soon,
Probably
Could
women
be
more
women.
now.
Women.
Yeah, with the
Probably.
young women.
right? So when it comes to boys, right? Boys, they're the ones that from birth until adulthood, majority of the influence is women. Am I wrong?
No.
Beyond that,
No, not at all.
So do you think it's very hilarious how model women complain about the very same men that they pretty much raised and created?
It's very hypocritical because when you are having these standards in what masculine men, but then you raise these young men, you basically push masculinity out the window. Say, okay, it's my way or the highway. You're making these men effeminate. You're making these men submit to you, and therefore they're going to have this mindset. Okay, in order to live my life, I have to submit to women. Being effeminate, that right there is going to be their mindset. Probably for the rest of their life until they run into one of us, for example.
Yep. And I'm gonna have one more question before I head out. I'm get these ingredients for lasagna and stuff.
Ooh,
So who has custody of the kids more, men or women?
women.
Women.
Women 90% of the time. Yeah.
Which pretty much proves my. I didn't even have to ask all those other questions, right? That one question alone that I just asked
Tells you everything.
tells you
Yep.
everything. Yet these
100%.
very same women complain about the men that they raised. No father figure in the picture. They're the ones that are despised. They're the ones that are creeped out about these men because I'm putting it out there. I'm sure I'm gonna get shut off by Susan. Women cannot raise boys to be men, but men can raise the young girls to be women.
That's right.
I have something that could go further in this, but more of like an analogy. Kings raise princes to be kings. Queens raise princes to just be another dude. They can't make kings.
No, they can't. If they
Nope.
married a queen, they're just known as the queen's husband.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of people's society doesn't want men to understand. Okay. Majority of the influence that we had in the last, I'll give them leeway, 30 years, is women. Okay. Barely any male figures in these men's lives. And then they want to turn around and bitch about the very same men that they created? Because they want to blame me on this quote unquote toxic masculinity. How are they going to get masculinity in the first place if there's no fucking man around? Stupid.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's kind of interesting because I don't think that women understand where masculinity comes from, because like that's the thing. Like they're women. They're not accustomed to working for something or having to deal with stuff. Or if they're feminists, they basically rebel against everything that they've been taught, and they think that's strength. And most of what they understand in society is just them imitating others. But actually taking criticism, like learning from mistakes, that's something that men do. So like,
That's a big thing. Men and women take criticism very differently. Very differently. If they're young, not so different. But if they're in the teenage years, men and women take criticisms differently. Men will say, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to change it up a bit and try my best to get better. A lot of women, they'll deem it as, oh, he's mansplaining, or oh, he's talking shit. Why would you want that type of women, or majority of women with that? Like, why would you want them as any type of authority in your life?
oh, I think it very simply, it's like, when was the last time that you have heard or seen a woman, and not a scripted one, but actual footage of a woman going, oh shit, I fucked up, I'm sorry?
That's only when they have no choice. I mean, no choice. They fear shame. They fear consequences. Only then they will openly admit their faults.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, even in that case, I usually, like, even when they're caught red fucking handed, having done something completely stupid and irrational because they didn't think things through, they're still trying to find a way to deflect blame off of themselves or minimize it. They don't just flat out go, this is 100% my fault, I am sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's because of today's simps, white knights, law enforcement, government, etc. Listen, okay, gentlemen. The only way a woman will be in check if she knows that she can't do any better, and there are severe consequences if she fucks up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that she will be in check. Not here in the West, but go overseas. You definitely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have something to say about this. So, yeah, it's this idea of you got these men, like you said, they're simps. They don't know what having standards are. They don't know that they can, I don't want to say demand, but that they can set boundaries and say, this behavior is unacceptable. And if you engage in this behavior, the consequence is that you lose me. And then you put that in the girl's court and you say, you want to go to the club and be a slut? That's great. But the price you pay is you lose me. Are you prepared to pay that price? And most of the time, these girls will probably say, if they value and respect you enough, no, they won't. But it's just that nobody has asserted authority and spoken to them like that before. These girls are used to simps drooling over them.
Let's keep it real, that guy, Pete.
Yeah.
That's the least of our punishments if we're going to keep it real. If men were actually in charge.
Yeah, like that's really the most we can do is withdraw our support and resources. And
yeah, that's all we can do currently. I agree.
Correct. But I'm just saying, like, as a guy who just, if you're personally engaging with women, and I'm always the guy that reserves, I give women the right to try to prove me wrong. You want to prove me wrong? You want to prove you're a unicorn? Great. It's on you to do that. But what I'm saying is when you're talking about coachability and things like this, I know it's a fucked up way to say it, but just like how you talk to kids when it's like, bruh, you do that shit, you're gonna get grounded. You kind of have to be like that with your girl. You got to be like, yo, listen, I don't like it when you do this. This is the consequences if you do this. And if she's like, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna go do it anyway. That's great. You're just not my girlfriend anymore. And I changed the locks. Okay.
Which is a weird situation, which I do agree with Pete.
Yeah.
Once you are all of a sudden out of nowhere, you just stop caring. Not even like beating her ass or yelling in her face or whatever. When you just stop caring,
Yeah.
that's when she truly freaks out.
Correct, because it's the ultimate form of social disapproval, and women are wired to avoid social disapproval at all costs. It's just like when a girl cheats on you. She doesn't really give a shit if you caught her shit, but if the family finds out, bro, forget it. It's a totally different ballgame. So that's kind of what I've learned dealing with girls is that social disapproval, it's the number one thing. They can't stand it. They can't
That's
stand
the
it.
big thing.
That's
Weak
because they
family-
know if
weak
they're exiled from
families.
the tribe, they die.
Hey,
Exactly. Gray understands.
weak ass families contributed to this society that we have today. Weak,
Correct.
I want to say family. Weak ass men that bow down to their wife's every whim. I'm sure you guys heard or saw the dad just being treated like a bitch by the mom because
Because he allows it.
But yeah, my hey, my daughter's old enough. She can wear whatever she wants. All right, you overreacting.
Oh my lord.
I'm like, bitch. I swear to God, I'm not afraid to go to jail. I'm not afraid to go to. See, that's the biggest thing that I know that my future wife would not try to argue with me with. Once the daughter is on her own and paying for her own bills and out doing her own thing, I won't care anymore. I agree. But as long as she's in my house, I don't give a fuck.
Oh, dude, actually, here's the thing. This would be a fun test. Like next time a dad goes like, well, she's old enough she can make her own decisions. They can be like, all right, so when she turns 18, can I fuck her?
She. That's a good question. That's a great question. You know, and
Because like if you're gonna let her dress like a whore, do you mind if I treat her like one?
see, and that's the thing. See, a lot of fathers are too afraid to cut off their daughters from the family.
Well, I think that's actually another
That's
part.
another big
Like
thing.
with the low number of kids per household, like again, kind of supply and demand. Like if you've got a couple daughters, like you can be like, all right, you know what? You fucked up. There's still two others here that haven't fucked up yet. So I don't mind casting you aside. But if that's your only kid or your only daughter, like that's the thing. Like there's no like even that element of sibling competition isn't around so much.
I see what you're saying, man. I definitely I see what you're saying, but I don't know, man. Even if it's my only daughter, did you try to pull that crazy shit with me during like her high school years, or when she just turned 18, she wants to go to some OnlyFans or whatever that's similar in the future to OnlyFans. I'm disowning the fuck out of her.
Yeah, but it's all
I didn't
it's all
teach you
about
this
the
shit.
degrees.
I didn't
Yeah.
teach you the shit.
Yep. I've already told my daughters if you get to a certain age where you want to do things your way and disrespect me or bring shame to my name, don't be surprised if those bridges burn down and they're not going to be built again.
Right, figure baby.
Done.
Because I'm like, hey, you're an adult. You're out my house. Do whatever you want. Go do your thing.
Yep.
But just because I'm your dad doesn't mean I have to accept everything that you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeetus, could I elaborate on kind of a point everyone's kind of brought up the past 5 minutes, including yourself?
Yes, elaborate, but I'm going to go get some quick food right quick. All right, elaborate. I'll be back in like
Okay.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
So,
All right.
so Fingerbanger just brought up the key word, and that is shame. Do not shame my name. Shame.
Wait, real talk. One more thing. Hold up.
Sure.
Figure Banger, you're in charge.
All right. I'll take the reins, my man. Go
right.
get your food.
Too easy. Go ahead and
All right,
continue, real talk. Go ahead, continue.
Cool. All right. So Fingerbanger brought up the word shame, and as I've experienced and Pete's experienced, Graven brought up being on the outs of the tribe, being on the outs of the hive. The moment that you incorporate shame, then there's this motivational factor not to do that evil deed that they wanted to do, that they are lusting to do, that they were fantasizing about. The problem that I see that's even bigger than the family, I think what Yeetus had just brought up, is that the church had taken shame out of the equation, and now you have the church is pretty much full of whores, single moms, girls who are ran through, born again virgins, so on and so forth. So from top to bottom, let's say there was a household where there was a bunch of daughters who were whored out, and there was a weak father where the mother was running the household, who might have been a 304 back in the day. The church and fellow people at the church would shame that family, essentially. There would still accountable men controlling their families through shame and shaming the women not to be whores. So I think as it goes to the level of religion and social institutions as large as churches, controlling communities, when the shame has been removed on that high of level, every level beneath it will have shame removed from it. So that's just a thought I wanted to expand and kind of connecting all those points, which are really, really good points.
Very good. Anyone else like to talk about that particular subject, about the church and its responsibility to keep society in check and shame?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you brought up a very good point. In fact, there's this anecdote that would elaborate perfectly with this, okay? There's these black men, right? They're in this church. Pastor goes up, says, okay, well, the women who are single mothers stand up in the church. They all stand up. And then the pastor goes to the men who are single, well, y'all stand up. They all, literally all of them stand up. And the pastor goes, now, well, y'all take these lovely, beautiful sisters and marry them. Now, mind you, these are single mothers. They made their choices already. They decided to get with bad boys, Pookie and Ray Ray, Chad and Tyrone. And you know what these black men did? They walked out. They walked out of the church.
Good.
Wait, what was that?
I said no. I just said good. I'm agreeing with that. Keep going.
Yeah, I was just saying that, like, then that goes to connect this perfectly. That even the church, they've removed not only shame, they've removed morals as a whole. They're all about acceptance of behavior, good or bad, entirely.
Yep. And that's something that I believe that the church's responsibility was to teach, that there's some things that you do. Now, your God can forgive you, but that doesn't mean everyone else has to forget what you did.
Absolutely.
There are some things that we do in this life, and there's no coming back from it. There's some things they'll stick to you till you're dead.
Yeah, well, honestly, like,
go for it.
The standards of the church have shifted dramatically. Like, I need to pull up, because I know I took some photo records of this last time I was in a torture museum.
I'm not sure churches have standards.
Well, they used to.
Yep.
Like, going back a couple hundred years, if you didn't go to church regularly, I think it was like you were forced to wear a barrel with a bunch of heavy weights around it, and you were paraded through town while people were free to abuse the shit out of you.
Yep. Right.
Like, and that's not if you did anything. That's just if you didn't go to church.
Yep. Now, does anybody know about excommunication? Let's talk about that. Anybody like to comment?
From churches or just from like family and stuff like that?
Well, if we're talking
excommunication, we can talk about the entire spectrum.
Specifically from the church, like, you had excommunication. Basically, when someone, well, essentially it was how you got rid of heretics, people who were actively going against the teachings of the Bible and essentially spreading bullshit.
Yep.
Like if you had a priest going around talking about how there is no afterlife, only the now matters. Like we don't have souls. Like if all the church did was strip him of his status as a priest, he's considered himself lucky at that point. Normally, like you'd get run out of cities for talking for less than that.
Now, let me ask you, gentlemen, about a little bit about excommunication. Now, that's pertaining. You're talking about priests or bishop behaving in such a way, sure. But what if there was a female that was acting in a way that would be shameful in the church, and such as maybe running around on her husband and family and causing various issues in the church?
Talking about modern churches.
Excommunication would be used there. Punishment would be used.
Are you talking about modern churches or like previous churches? Because I know a bit more about modern churches.
Well, so I'm talking about back in the ye olden time, okay?
Yeah, we need like a rough time period.
Yeah,
I'd say at least 400 years, 400 to 500 years in the past.
So we're like talking like 16th, 17th century.
Correct.
Oh, she'll be shunned. She'll be classed as a prostitute or a whore. No one would trust her, especially sleeping around. She might even be like part of some torturing or some humiliation for everyone to see. It's also
But see, not even the church, gentlemen, would reject her. It would be her family as well.
Oh,
her family would cut her off. Her father would cut her off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because to do that, like, you know, this people like say shame is bad and all that stuff, but shame is because like the reason people shame is because you broke a contract or you had to break something. So let's say you were a priest or something like that, and you broke your doctrines that you're supposed to follow. People had respect and hope, and you made a vow to everyone that you were going to follow these rules. By you breaking them, no one can trust you anymore. You are a threat to everyone because you're untrustworthy. So a woman or a man that can't keep their vows is an untrustworthy person because they didn't only do it in front of the person that they were engaged into or married to, but they did it in front of their family and the community. So that means you don't trust the community or you don't care about the community and your own family. So how can anyone trust you in any dealings anymore?
Like,
well, that's the thing. Like, essentially, like that kind of excommunication, the breaking of the contract is like, it's essentially exile, which is basically you're not enough of a threat that we can justify spending the resources to put you in prison, and we also don't want to put you to death. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of riding that fine line where you're essentially running someone out of town and they have to go essentially start a new life somewhere else.
Yep. Exactly. But so excommunication was a very shameful thing. It was a scarlet letter pinned to your head permanently. If anybody knew who you were and they came from out of town after you'd moved, they'd say, hey, this person's excommunicated. You'd have to go somewhere else.
It's basically a death sentence.
Pretty much.
Like, you basically have to run to another town, hope that no one ever finds you, and try to start a new life, which in a woman's case would be try to find a man willing to take you. Otherwise, you end up that crazy broad on the edge of town who tries to make herself useful, and then as soon as anything goes wrong, you're being tied to the stake and burned as a witch.
Yep.
A pariah.
Quite the contrast in the church today. Looking back on the church of yesterday, it's changed quite a bit, hasn't it, gentlemen?
Of course.
Quite.
What's your thoughts on that as far as going back to the basics?
God, well, I've said this a couple times, but quite frankly, I see more Bibles in motels than I do in the church.
Yep.
Like the modern
do you feel like that might be a main issue here with the reason why society is on such a downhill spiral?
Well, okay, well, let's... Short answer, yes, but it goes into something more complex than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the church, like we have to look at like the purpose that the church serves. Because regardless of one's, like, first of all, I don't like biblical literalism for one. I really think that those people are just as crazy as the feminists, because to understand the scripture requires some context and some critical thought. But the church was like your societal standard. It was that moral societal goalpost that has now been supplanted by the government. That's the thing. It was always independent from the government, and the government itself had to be beholden to the same societal standards as the average commoner. Mm-hmm. Like if you were a politician, being excommunicated from the church like was just as bad as a commoner being excommunicated from the church. You'd lose a shit ton of support and probably have to leave town.
It'd be worse if you're a politician, because you have so much power and resources, but if you're excommunicated, you're definitely going to lose them. The place rarely cares about the church's faults, and you're getting cast out of town, so you lose way more than just being an average everyday person.
Yep, absolutely.
So
my personal belief in regards to this, not exactly the same. Like I'm not saying, hey, let's go back to living just like they did in the Dark Age. But as far as the traditional is concerned, do you believe the way forward is to go backwards?
Not completely. I believe every civilization has its golden nuggets in it, even if it was horrible. So we should take aspects that we see as really beneficial that can help us sustain a society and make sure it improves and moves forward without destroying ourselves in hedonism or any like lust and greed, this for power or comfort. So yeah, there are stuff in the past that were horrible, but there were many things in the past that probably we should look back and see what's really useful to keep.
Absolutely. Well, and of course, one of those things would be shame.
Yeah.
Very important.
Well, part of it too is like when you had a community that had their local church, that had their local priests, like, okay, we're all on the same page here. Like we're all like everyone who goes here is agreeing to the same set of rules and is following the same set of rules. So like we're all going to hold ourselves to the same standards.
Right.
And that's good for a society as a whole, which is where a lot of like the diversity stuff isn't really working, because when you have separate churches having separate laws, you're effectively having multiple, like the standards of multiple different cultures being held up. And then how are people supposed to negotiate on an equal term when they hold fundamentally different values and different ideas of how things should work?
Well, sure. Yeah, that's true. Different cultures, but like with Christianity, there's different types of Christians, but most of the time they would have a general idea of what's right and what's wrong. There might be certain differences. It could be extreme or subtle, but most of the time Christians will have a general idea of what they should follow. But if it's like a Muslim and a Christian, there's way more differences, and after you go further away from that. And
well, but that's the thing. Countries. That's the thing. Like even among Christianity, like if you tell a Catholic that they're basically the same as a Protestant, you'll be lucky if you walk away alive.
Yeah, it's different, especially in some like Scotland and Ireland, where that's just crazy over there.
Well, can we elaborate on what actually destroyed the masses of people that were going to the church? I think feminism and destruction of the family unit, because the way society is constructed is you have society as a whole, which is broken down into communities, which is broken down into larger families and then smaller families. And if those larger and smaller families go to churches or any sort of religious congregations of all sorts, for those numbers to go down, the family unit would have to get hit first. And then once the family unit's destroyed, then the community starts to fall apart. And with no community, like Gray described the church offering, like it's a huge post of like-minded people abiding by the same rules and regulations. So what do you guys think? Would you say that the family unit destruction had to come before the church got misconstrued and the message bent and whoredom accepted and so on and so forth?
No, I'd say that the church went first.
Yeah. I would actually venture to say that the church had a set of rules, and then the church got misconstrued. Misconstrued. It got destructed. And what
Well,
do we? What the? You go
I would
first.
agree with
Greg.
that.
And
Okay,
what I'm willing to say is that if we hear a lot about society, without rules, there's chaos. You take the church out, you deconstruct it, you mess it up, and make it all accepting of, like, for example, whoredom or Transformers or the CRT. Now you got a society that is bent on chaos. You got a society that is accepting of failure.
Yeah, you can say that, but a church is made out of people.
Well, that's the thing. I
Right.
think it gets very simple. It's very simple. The
Okay.
church, the church got a grant from the government for tax exempt status. Any church that speaks in a way that the government opposes will just have its tax exempt status removed and probably won't be able to sustain itself.
Damn.
So the church just became another face of the government. They are subservient to it.
That's right.
There is no
Yep.
more.
Why
There's no
are we
more
talking about
separation of
church?
church and state.
Why are we talking about the church?
We're talking about shame and how the church's responsibility, part of that is to push that shame in society when things are immoral or being done or practiced or things going on in the home regarding women. Oh, we're talking about that for that reason.
I agree.
We're talking about-
100%. And how we fucked up once again is how we pretty much in the modern era merge the state and the church. That's where we completely fucked up.
Right.
Like, if you guys know, like, if you guys can actually understand why it's so fucked up, because before, when it was separated, the women had more priority on whatever religion they believed in, but primarily Christianity. And they're more worried about not pissing off God, because Adam was made in the image of God, and Eve was made from the rib of Adam. So that's why the priorities were set in place. But up until recent times, marriage is now a business contract, which is beyond fucked up.
Well, that's the thing. It's not even a business contract, because a business contract is just between the two businesses. Whereas this is, like, if it was a business contract, then you'd be able to have, like, the husband and, like, the wife or the father of the wife put down a negotiate it out, hash it out. Probably both of them get some lawyers to make it ironclad and set the terms of the marriage. And that would be better than what we have now. Now we have a government contract. There is one way that marriage goes, and it is the way that the government dictates all marriages. Even if you live long enough, you're technically married. That's just what the government says it is. You're not allowed to have a non-government marriage.
How can you have a true marriage? Because marriage was created from religion only. When you have people that have no idea what's going on in your life, no idea what's going on in your marriage, dictate the outcome. How can you sign something that appalling? And
Modern marriages are
people
not
that
complicated.
learn their lesson, finger banger.
Yes, sir.
You got married before, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Do you want to tell the chat your experience in today's marriage?
Absolutely. For all the young men out there that have not been married yet, that are considering it, let me try to be as concise as possible. There is nothing that marriage is going to do that's going to change your relationship to make it better. It's not going to make your girl loyal. It's not going to make her love you more. It's not going to make you love her more. And there's no guarantee there that's going to keep her from sticking a knife in your back. So therefore, you have to consider those things. There's no advantage for you to do it. Okay?
So, Fingerbanger, would you agree that all women are like that around the world, but it's just the environment that makes them behave differently?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. It is in their nature to look. I don't even blame it on them. It's biology. And yes, the culture and the environment and the way she was raised, all those factors come into play of whether or not she acts on some of her biological impulses. That's the word.
Right.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
guy Pete,
What's up, man?
do you have anything to say about what I just said, or
Yeah, I think Fingerbanger, you hit it pretty much at the end there. All really nurture culture, society. At the end of the day, all it really was the social norms and stigmas. It was using women's biological nature against them. As I said, and as Gray also pointed out, avoid social disapproval at all costs. If you get eggs out from the tribe, you have no man to protect you. You are bear lunch. Being in modern times does not negate that. Even though we know social disapproval doesn't mean bear lunch anymore, it doesn't change the fact that thousands of years of evolution make it so in her head, right? So what we did with religion and things like that is we used that to our advantage to institute norms to basically get desirable outcomes with women. And what feminism did is said, hey, let's just throw all that shit out the window. Everybody could just fuck who they want. And when you do that, here we are, basically top 20 cleaning up. The rest of us are left on red, seen, and delivered. And unfortunately, stories like Fingerbangers are dime a dozen. And it sucks that it's like that. It doesn't have to be like that. But women have all this power now, and it's not going to be easy to take that power back.
Actually, can I elaborate on what you said there? Because you brought up a very interesting point.
Sure.
So you mentioned that like we're using like women's nature against them. Like that's the thing. It's not even that we're using it against them, nor is it female exclusive. It comes from an understanding of women's base instincts, how they operate, and building a system that accommodates it. It's actually the same thing with like to have a stable society, you do want the nuclear family. Now, with human nature, the nuclear family is an artificial creation. It is not the natural state of humans. But
the natural state is the tribalism stuff.
Correct.
well, that's the thing. It's very much like again, you have like an alpha male who's got the majority of females, and then maybe you get like
just like now.
and then maybe you get like some betas or whatever sneaking in and impregnating some of the women. But that's the thing. But that's the natural state. However, when you create a society that has monogamy, what you have then done is maximized the number of men that will have an investment in your society. Because if you're an alpha patriarch and you're like, okay, you know what? I want to maximize the amount of manpower at my disposal. Now I have a ton of resources, but these men can go and get their own resources. But I do have a lot of women that will be attracted to my abundance of resources. So if I promise all these men, some of these women, so long as they are within my society, then I will have access to these like men who will fight, men who will die, men who will work themselves to the bone to keep me in power. Whereas if
Agreed.
I try to go this alone and I just have a bunch of women and children, the next guy that figures this out is just going to steamroll me with an army.
True, and I agree with that. I also think I didn't mean it like what like controlling and all that kind of shit. Like, because for example, like men's nature, like if women's nature is hypergamy, men's nature is polygamy. Like it goes without saying, we're trying to bang as much as we can here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the whole premarital sex thing, that was to tame polygamy just as much as it was to tame hypergamy. Again, to facilitate the strong monogamous nuclear family. And when dudes aren't getting laid, again, they feel like they have no stake in the community. It's like, I don't have a nuclear family. This isn't my community. And that's why you got all these acts of violence happening and shit. Because men are just acting out that aggression because there's no outlet. So I agree with Gray. Gray, I agree with you 100% in what you're saying. But I just meant like, controlling in the sense that we're using what we know about nature to our advantage to facilitate the best outcomes.
Well,
like
that's the thing. Like the language I'm using is probably a bit harsh, but like that is very much at the end of the day, we understand that we have base desires that are not conducive to effectively tribes of the size that we have right now.
Correct.
So we needed to make these systems in order to control these natures. It doesn't sound nice, but it is what it is. This is how we have to be in order to function on the scale we have.
So
and throwing out all those rules is, yes, exactly. It's destroying. Like, we're not even destroying. It's disintegrating.
It's bringing us back to what it was before.
Hold up. So, going back on topic. Will the increase in violence in today's society contribute to the lack of masculinity?
Yes, I agree with that. I guess the masculinity that we see as and the toxic masculinity are two different things. One's refined and one's animalistic, pure, natural mineral that people just find out in the wild. The masculinity that most of us say and we talk about is something that's tempered and something that's being molded to be useful for people and not dangerous. It can be dangerous if needed, but it's there to protect and serve the people around it and make sure everyone's grown. But the ones they call toxic masculinity is just a man that's left out. Technically a boy is an animal that's just left in the wild and grows as an animal with a human intelligence of some degree sometimes. And it's extremely dangerous. A barbarian.
That's an interesting point because, like, a man alone in the wild, what he lacks that a man contributing to society has is authority.
And discipline.
But that's the thing. But like a man still has the responsibilities in modern day society. That has not changed. But it's the authority specifically that's being stripped away.
There it is.
So like when a man doesn't have the authority, well, he's naturally going to start abandoning the responsibilities. Because why kill yourself for something that you don't have any power over?
Exactly, because if you have all this responsibility with no authority, it's pretty much slavery.
Well, it's literally slavery.
That's facts.
Society want to act all dumb and confused on why men are walking away.
Why they won't get married, why they won't have kids, why they won't do any of this, because the system is set up where the woman has all the authority, but the man is left holding the bag, and he is just like, fuck that.
And this
Straight
is an
up.
African proverb. He didn't really quote it the right way, but whatever. A boy shunned by the village will burn it down and smile from the warmth of its destruction. It's not the exact quote, but it's
The gist is there.
yeah.
Yeah.
What you guys got to say about that?
Yeah, you take away a man's stake in the society, that dude has nothing to lose. He doesn't give a fuck. And that is one of the most dangerous modes. It's like Frieza Form 4. It's like it's not the version of a man you want to see go off in modern times.
I get
Well,
that
and
reference.
Well, it's the other thing. If you go, like, I'm gonna let's use like slavery at the cotton fields. So sorry to all the black gentlemen in the chat about this.
I'm the only black person here.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I thought you were
How dare you? How
But
dare
that's
you?
the thing. But like right now, the
I'm
only
bringing my
thing.
BLM brothers and sisters, we're gonna riot through the air. That's playing.
Damn, I got my black card revoked. What the fuck?
How dare you? How dare
Well,
you shame my kind through the virtual world? How dare you?
Yeah, well,
How
the
dare
whites,
ye.
well, the whites hate me too, so at least it's equal.
But
And-
you gotta say great.
Yeah, but basically, it's like nowadays, if you compare the modern man to the black slave in the field, we're like, why does he pick cotton? Because he'll get whipped if he doesn't pick cotton. So is he going to go an extra hard, push it as hard as he can, go the extra mile for it? No. He's going to work as hard as it takes for him not to be whipped. And that's it. And you can't, and like maybe you can sustain a cotton industry on that, but you cannot sustain modern society on men doing the bare minimum to avoid punishment. It's basically so long as a man doesn't commit crime, pays all his taxes.
And not
Like,
speak
that's
out
it.
against the gynocentric government.
That's the thing. So like so long as a man doesn't rock the boat and does the absolute bare minimum to pay his dues, like that's all he really needs when he doesn't have any extra stake in society.
Yeah, he's safe.
But the modern society does not run that efficiently. It cannot sustain itself on men doing the bare minimum just to look after themselves. The government, as it stands, needs men to be paying for women through marriage, but also subsidizing all the women through taxes. If men are doing the bare minimum, what do we get? We get massive inflation.
Yeah, pretty much bare minimum results. You know what they want, and like you said, Gray, hella inflation.
And beyond that, you get the brain drain too, because I think Chronic's spoken on this, where like all the top geneticists, the like really smart, really base ones, yeah, they're not in the US. They're not in the West at all. They're working for China. So
China. Sorry, I had to say it.
yeah, that's the thing. The best and brightest are leaving the country because like they are so skilled and so unwilling to bend to the modern politics, probably because the politics are completely non-conducive to their work.
Well,
But they're like, fuck it, I'll go for the highest bidder. And
yeah,
if that's not the West, if that's not the US, then they're not going to be leading in any sort of technological front, science front, biology front, anything.
well, if China wasn't so oppressive, we wouldn't have so many smart people coming over here. You know, if China learned to not be so oppressive, which they won't, because it's pretty much a communist regime. If they were to learn to, you know, hey man, like, you know, the smart people, the people with talent, we ain't gonna be that rough on you. You know, we'll give you some perks. We definitely would not have as many prodigies in the U.S. than what we have now.
But that's the
Well,
thing. The
that was-
prodigies don't stay. They come here, they get their education here, and then they leave.
To an extent,
Prestige.
to an extent, because there are a good amount of projects that do stay. But I do see what you're saying. People that are definitely just going to the States to, you know, advance their education, get some type of glory, anything that they possibly can, and then bring it back to their homeland. That happens often as well. But at the same time, there are prodigies that do stay.
Well, this is kind of the thing. Like, so, like I was in the bank last week, and they're running ads on the TV,
Right.
and they're advertising international transfers, and there's, but yeah, multilingual in Mandarin, and one of it was send money back home. So they're straight up advertising how easy it is to send money earned in Canada from Canadians with Canadian systems back to China. And that is their home. Canada's not their home. Canada's just the place they work.
Oh, that's a odd.
I see what you're saying.
Didn't we already know this? Like,
Well,
most
no, but
people from different
Yeah, that's
countries.
the thing. We knew this, but like it's blatantly an advertisement.
It's been that for
Advertisement. What do you
years.
mean by that?
They're getting ballsy, is what he's saying.
That's the thing. Like it's not something that's covert. It is out in the open and obvious to anyone who's got their eyes open and is actually paying attention. Like it's not subtle anymore.
They know they're not paying attention though, which is why they have the balls to do what you're saying in the first place, to be overt.
Well, they know that the ones who are paying
About
attention don't have the
sending
power to do
their
shit.
to the States.
That's the thing. I don't live in the States, so I can't really say anything that I've
Or
observed
to
there.
Canada.
If they were sending if they were talking about sending it back home to the States, then they wouldn't have Chinese people in the ads and they wouldn't have it in Mandarin and they wouldn't
Well,
be
that's what I'm saying. Like
advertising
they
Chinese.
send their best to the West, and then they bring them back with all the accolades.
Yeah, they want them to learn what they can after they bring them back.
Okay.
And the other ones that they're sending here, like they're just sending them here to work, but all the money is going back, and they are living on bare minimum. And it's not just China. Like
no,
there's
it's
another
various. Yeah,
India
I,
is
I've seen it.
various different cultures.
Yeah, I've seen it personally. I've seen accounts. That definitely does happen. In India, China. I didn't really see Thailand, but I'm sure it's there. But Malaysia, Indonesia.
Oh, I know that happens with African countries a lot. Like,
Well,
you know,
African only the people that okay. How do I explain it? I think Greg can explain better than me because it's when it comes to
I'm not saying
Africa,
this.
it's a bit iffy, but
yeah.
but
Yeah, that's
But a
the,
lot of
my
countries
personal
are trying to grow.
experience. Like my personal experience is a lot of people who come here from Africa, they're not maintaining really heavy ties back to Africa. They're usually like settled down here and getting established.
exactly.
It's more so like China, the Middle East. Like there might be a couple others
China,
in
Middle
Asia.
East, Malaysia, Indonesia, India.
That's the thing.
I
Like
wouldn't
that's
say
like that's the
Japan,
thing.
but
What's the thing? Like so like Japan can look after themselves.
yeah.
So Asia and the Middle East, that's basically where the money flows to out of the country.
And I don't blame them because they're poor. I don't blame them. But
No, it's
Asian
like,
mi-
but that's the thing. Like, I blame the government and the banks on that because, like, if you want to accelerate inflation, like that's the thing. That money should. That's the thing. Like,
It's only
okay,
going
you know,
one direction. It's
well,
like
not
having
like-
a leak in your bottle.
well, exactly. Like this was actually something that I forget exactly where I read it, but it was this Jewish guy talking about black communities, and then he's saying, like, yeah, so
don't
yeah.
get me started.
Bruh.
yeah, but it's basically like the black people spend all this time and earn all this money, and then instead of spending it within their community and making the money go around, they go and blow it on the white man.
We
Oh,
did
yeah.
great back in the day. We did amazing back in the day, but if you want me to elaborate on U.S. history on how that happened to Black Wall Street, it didn't end well. There's a
No,
lot
it did
of
not.
angry white
Asians are
folks.
good.
They got pissed off. Started burning a lot of shit down. Black people successful with money. What? That's what happened back then. Yeah, if you guys heard about Black Wall Street, they were very successful. black men and women doing their thing. But for some reason, probably because of the racism that was still
The
encouraged back
government
then.
funded racism. The government promoted the shit.
Yeah, they burned that bitch down. Like they literally burned down the Black Wall Street.
Well, even you look at BLM, like what's 90% of the shit they burned down? It ain't white people businesses, it's black people businesses, black stores, black community.
But at the same time, majority of the people in the Black Lives Matter protests are suburban white bitches. So
I just
Yeah.
literally did a
Yo,
video
I was
short
about
on
to
this last night.
I was about to say that too, man. It's a bunch of rich white kids that are like, "Look at me, I'm a justice warrior." Like that. That's them.
I'm for the blacks.
Yeah, they,
Gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I got to sign off and get ready for work tomorrow.
Hold
Yeetus,
on.
thank you
Hold
for
up,
having me.
Hold up.
Oh, okay. What's up?
What you cook for dinner, bro?
Oh, let's see. I had some deer venison that I had cooked. It's kind of like a hamburger meat. And I made that up and made tacos out of it.
So when it comes to venison, right? Which I had venison on like once or twice. What will be the best before you leave? This is my last question. What will be the best way to prepare venison?
Oh, that depends on what part of the deer we're talking about.
What will be your dish? Like, what will be your favorite dish of venison?
Okay, so that would be fried backstrap or tenderloin. I like to cut that up. So you cut it up raw into strips, batter it with some seasoned flour, and fry it. Man, it's good. I make it Peter Pucker.
I had a lot of people saying it's good, but there are other people saying that they don't like it because there's literally like no fat whatsoever on venison.
Well, that's why you fry it. That's why you fry it. Juicy. Yeah.
I had venison lasagna. I
I
thought
like
that
it.
was good. Huh?
I like it. It's a real healthy meat. It doesn't have any hormones and antibiotics added to it. It's good for you. So.
Give me this year because I'm already in the talks to start hunting this venison deer meat. Let's go. And yeah, I know I'm from an area where I should have been hunting, and if you guys knew where I was, you guys would be ashamed of me. But that's besides the point, okay? Not too many black people hunt in the first place.
Right.
In the United States. So this year, I'm already talking to a few homeboys. I am looking at certain rifles for me to use. I was thinking about compound bow, but I'm like, yeah, that's pretty gay. So,
Ouch.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I'd rather end the deer's life instantly with no pain or nothing. The compound bow.
All depends where you hit them.
That's it.
That's true as well. That's true. And this will be the first time I'll be skinning a deer this year if I am able to get a deer. I skin rabbit and the small stuff, but I haven't skinned deer yet.
Well, if you have a good sharp knife and you know how to do it, you can do it fairly quickly.
Do you pull or?
That's kind of there's little tricks to the trade that you can pick up where you start your cut, and if you do it right, yeah, you can start your cut and it'll just start pulling off.
Okay, that's a bit because the closest I've seen was like YouTube videos of skinning deer or my favorite game, Red Dead Redemption 2. But I will send a whole picture later on this year. I will send a whole picture when I get a deer. If I don't, I'll just still get pissed off about the Packers losing yesterday.
I got a guy that I work with, and he goes hunting every year. He shoots about 3 to 4 deer a year, and his freezer stays full of lots of meat. He never has to go to the store to buy meat. He always has meat in his deep freezer.
See, that's the big thing. That's the big thing that I need because I don't have a deep freezer. My parents, they have a deep freezer in their basement. So I'll definitely talk to them for the time being. You know,
You can get you one of them small ones. They're like they can't be any more than $200. I don't know this. They're really tiny. But they'll be good enough for at least one deer, and probably even more.
but when it comes to hunting, right, and skinning and butchering meat, majority of women that try to do it, they couldn't do it at all, or they couldn't even finish it. Like they couldn't.
Most women can't do it.
But I'm like, you guys are strong and independent. Hey, go ahead and skin that bitch, And then they literally couldn't. Like once they start cutting down the middle, at least in one video I saw, she like freaked the fuck out and like couldn't do it anymore.
Yep. That's how come men get shit done, my man. We'll do it.
You really thought that the grocery store full of meat was all rainbows and leprechauns and shit?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they just pull a steak off the steak tree.
Yeah.
But Fingerbanger, thank you for joining, and there will be, depending on what happens tomorrow, because tomorrow should be busy, there will be another live stream tomorrow.
Very good. Well, if you'd like to have me, I'd love to join again. Until then, gentlemen, y'all have a wonderful night. Again, thank you for the invite. Y'all take care.
All right,
Take
peace
care.
out.
Take care, man.
Puniji.
Uniti.
So, when it comes to the certain topic that we were talking about, when it comes to the lack of masculinity, do you guys have stories in school, more specifically elementary school, of your female teachers pretty much discriminating against you because you're a male? In the sense of, is either they discriminate against you or they treat you like the girl students?
I'm probably going to say no because I went to private school. I was sent to Catholic school where there was more norms and stigmas, and the boys were the boys and the girls were the girls. Like, they still taught you that shit in Catholic school.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I had the same situation. I went to a Christian private school, so
I bet
I
y'all
didn't
got
get
some
no
trust
bullshit.
funds and all that shit, huh? I got that good shit, huh?
It was all right. It
As a
was
lawyer?
small-
I'm fucking
Nah, my
around.
dad-
I'm fucking around. So that guy Pete, even when you were separated, boys to girls, girls to boys, how was that experience per se?
Well, if you're talking elementary school, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, man. I mean, it was probably like, again, halfway through, and I was probably like in 5th grade. Like, I was in a neighborhood that was pretty mixed neighborhood, but it was predominantly black. So it was pretty much me, 2 Filipinos, and the rest were like all black, right? So I have a pretty different experience.
Oh,
So when I was in that classroom, honestly, I loved it. Like, I got along with everybody great. And when I went to high school, like, it totally did a 180 where it was the opposite, and I fucking hated it. I hated high school.
was it because of the teachers per se, or?
So when I looked at like the teachers, honestly, in the Catholic high school, when we were all kind of in that class together, just kind of going through it, the reason why I mentioned the racial breakdowns, because we all come from different cultures and shit like that. At the end of the day, though, we all kind of agreed on similar morals and values and stuff. And the teachers, they kind of came from that traditional background, which again is the kind of teacher you're looking to hire at a Catholic school, right? You're not hiring a bunch of 304s to teach Catholic school. So, like I said, at a private school, you don't really have those kind of problems, which I think lends credence to why a lot of us in this space have these values in the first place, I would say.
So I have a question. Out
Yeah.
of all the teachers you've had, besides Jim, how many male teachers did you have in high school?
In high school, let me think. It was definitely majority women. There's no doubt about that. But I would say probably
I had
25%. I'd probably say 20. Probably out of all my teachers, probably 25% of my teachers were men.
Are your classes throughout the years?
All my classes throughout the years, in high school, the 4 years in high school, I would say probably about 25% were men, 75% were women, that's about right. That's about right.
I literally had three men throughout my years. Just three. Actually, no, I lied. Four
Yeah.
men. The rest were women.
I'd have to really think about it, but I would say probably like 25% of the teachers I had were men. Out of all of them.
So, what about you, Special K? Because you say you went to some type of private school.
Yeah. Majority female. I say I had a few male teachers over the years. So probably the same, probably 20, could be more or less. I'm not actually sure, but I definitely had a majority more female teachers.
And I will get back to that very soon, Special K. Dr. Red Pill,
Yes.
did you go to private or public school?
Unfortunately, I had the luxury of not only going to public school, but only having right around 3 to 4 male teachers.
So
It was
around as much as me, right?
it was utterly debilitating.
Have you noticed how the female teachers treat you compared to the males?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
before you
Ab-
finish, I lied again. 5 male teachers. I just remembered a teacher from the accelerated course. My bad. 5. But continue, Red Pill.
Yeah, it was absolutely debilitating, man. It's just from the shaming tactics to just straight on how they treated the women versus the men in the class. It was just like, if you want a feminist paradise, definitely go to public school.
Shit, some men, a lot of us, yeah, we definitely didn't have a choice. And I'm sure, Dr. Red Pill, we're going to go into details with you right quick.
Okay.
Because I think only me and you could truly understand. What about the black girls in high school?
You know, funnily enough, there are only very few of those at where I went. But I will admit, they were not any different from what we have going on today. Man.
Oh shit,
Again,
even then, 2011, I had some fucking, like, literally, I went to a suburban high school, mostly white.
yeah.
And 7 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm so tired as shit. You know, my dad probably flipped the bed and shit. And I go to the breakfast area to get my breakfast. I give him like 10 cents. I used to have free food until my stepmom, you know, she started getting that money, and I respect her 1,000,000%. I had to start paying 10 cents. I was like, fuck. Sat down at the cafeteria table. And literally across the cafeteria, you hear them hollering, laughing, yelling in their goddamn face. I don't know how they got hot Cheetos, but they got hot Cheetos. Like, smacking them lips. Oh, that fucking pissed me off.
Man.
How do you smack your lips that fucking loud?
Man.
I'm sure you dealt with that form of bullshit. Like, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. Why are you guys yelling at each other?
It was, see, in my case, actually, yes, it was similar to yours, but it was more of the fairer skin that actually did that at where I went. Yelling across the cafeteria.
Light skin?
No. We're talking about like
white.
Yes.
What?
Legitimately.
No.
Yo, I kid you not, man.
What
Like
the
yelling
fuck?
across,
It was
yelling across the
black and
cafeteria.
Hispanic chicks in my school.
Man, I mean, yes, black women did that too. But
They just like cuddle up in the fucking corner of the cafeteria and just start acting like a bunch of goddamn animals in the goddamn zoo. Like why?
man,
It's 7 o'clock in the fucking morning.
man.
So
When I tell you,
you get my frustration though, Red Pill, right? Like you do get it, right?
man, man, when I tell you it was crazy, man. I see. There's a reason why I speak on how I speak on it now. See, back then, I was just punching the air. I was so frustrated, but then I came to the realization that okay, you passed it. Now you can speak on it without feeling the need to punch the air.
That's true, but even then, till this day, I didn't get the logic behind what I've had to deal with for a couple years.
Man,
I don't get the logic behind it.
it's because there's no logic to it.
Also, hey girlfriend, like I just woke up, ho. Shut the fuck up.
Yo.
Like,
Oh,
bro,
Lord.
like, how do you have so much energy? Like, you guys don't even have a fucking job, do you?
Man, I was just in my books back in the day, man. I was just in my books.
I couldn't ignore, like, because, I'm sure you went to go eat your breakfast too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you expected some peace and quiet, even if you're just having a couple of Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, man. And then
Hey, Pop-Tarts do be smacking in the morning, though, not gonna lie.
they, in my opinion, hey, they're good, but they never hit as good as back in the day, man.
What about the oatmeal?
Oatmeal's good.
Okay.
Oatmeal's good, man. I will have like a good 2 packets of apple cinnamon, or I'll make my own.
You make your own before you go to school?
Well, back in the day, I used to do microwavable, but like now I just do like homemade stuff.
How
man.
old are you, bro? Because I'm pretty sure I'm older than you.
You're older than me. You sound significantly older than me, man. I'm 21.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm having a midlife crisis right now. Okay.
I feel fucking old. You feel old. You fuck.
Get that guy P. How old are you?
I'm 31. I'm gonna be 32 at the end of March.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I'm lucky I'm not a chick, bro. I'd be post-war.
We had the same birthday
Post
month.
wall.
We had the same birthday month.
Yo, so do I, guys. Honestly.
Really?
Yes.
Bro, we should have like a March Madness birthdays.
That's open
A
on
March Madness live stream. That'd be.
But
That hit.
I am going to go to Gray and then Real Talk, because I'm going to tie all this together, guys. I'm gonna tie all this together.
Perfect.
Gray, you went to public school or private school?
Went to several public schools, actually. I had 4 different public schools over 6 years.
Same here. My dad had to move a shit ton when I was in elementary school. Besides that, when you reach middle school / high school, or if you notice it in elementary school, have you noticed how the female teachers treated the boys versus the girls?
And that's the thing. I honestly, I can't really remember the significant differences. Like
Right.
I had enough shit just dealing with new school, new group, new people.
But believe me, I know how the fuck that feels. It's not a good feeling, especially when you establish those friendships and then all of a sudden your parents or your dad has to go to a different area and you have to go to a different school. It hurts. It does. It really does. This is why I tell people, you know, you really need to be very careful who you procreate with. Okay, the only people that has issues with staying in one school should be the military. That's the nature of the military. You can't change that. But besides that, there is no reason why you should be hopping from school to school to school to school. Personally, if I had a kid, I'm not doing him like that.
Now,
I am not.
now, here's the thing. Like, now, well, I wouldn't. I will say, okay, yeah, it kind of sucked in the moment, but looking back, though, like I've met a couple. I've met, you can imagine, quite a number of people over the years. Some of who, like, they've been in the same town and they've had the same people their entire lives. They've had the same group of friends, all that. And I noticed how they got really stuck in a rut. And I definitely attribute bouncing around to a bunch of different schools used to my life being uprooted. Like, I can cut ties with people pretty easily. Like,
as an adult, yes, but
like
as a child, that shit hurt personally. I think that's what contributed to how me as a man today can cut off relationships like it was nothing if that person did me wrong.
Yeah.
But back then as a child, that shit hurt. It did.
It marks you.
It did, because you eventually develop friendships with a few people, and then out of nowhere, hey, we're moving. You're gonna go to a different school. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
yeah.
You
So
know.
on one hand, I do envy the people who have, like, oh, I've known this person more about my entire life. We've been friends since elementary school. Like, that does sound awesome.
I envy the fuck out of them.
On the other hand, though, I see people where, like, that is their entire identity, is that friend group, and, like, they just stagnate and they've done absolutely nothing. Like, in the worst example, this one guy has been, I swear, pining over the same girl for literally over a decade. Like the entire time I've known him, he's been pining over this same girl.
All right, even I can't do that. Yeah, that's
Poor bastard.
That's sad behavior.
Oh man.
Like, that's the thing. And I've talked with some other people, and they've, like, this one guy, he lived basically 20, 30 years of his life essentially on autopilot. Like, just doing whatever his immediate friend group did. So, and there's that element to it that I'm glad, like, it couldn't happen to me just because life got uprooted. But on the other hand, you do lose those strong ties and connections. But it does make you flexible and able to move around a lot, which in the modern day, that's very important.
I think that's why it made it much easier for me when I was in the military. I had to move from one place to another after 2 to 3 years. You know, I still am in contact with a good amount of people that I work with, but based on, at least in my childhood, it's not as hard for me to cut ties. But like I said before, like when I was in elementary school, that shit was hard. It was. Because people that haven't moved around often, you guys can't comprehend how many times you have to get a friends group over and over and over and over and over again. You guys cannot comprehend that shit.
Honestly, I imagine it'd be way harder nowadays, because what happened with me, like, that was the pre-cell phone era for the large part. So you still had, like, physical outdoor activities.
Yeah, for me, it was between 2004 and 2010 is where all the moving happened for me. So I do agree, Gray. Today it will be much, much worse.
Yeah. Well,
But back
especially God nowadays with all this bullshit.
right, well, what do these kids know about writing letters and putting into people's lockers and shit? Like, I can't fold for nothing, but you know, I had these females folding some origami shit and put it into my locker. Like, what do these kids know about that?
Actually, I wonder, like, what the heck did they do at recess if they did, like, without their cell phones? Like, do they just like stay on their phones and text, like, for the entire break time? Do they, like, are physical card games still a thing?
Man, I was getting it. If it was not Yu-Gi-Oh, it was Chinese checkers. If it's not Chinese checkers, I was playing soccer.
Oh yeah, pickup games of soccer. That was the shit in elementary school. You got out, you looked at the soccer field, and just picked a team, and just like, okay, which side has fewer players? Okay, I'm joining them. Kick the ball around until the bell rings.
I was the king of kickball.
What you know about kickball?
Man, I just know, man.
Hey,
Faked out this.
Hey, you guys continue. I really do gotta use the restroom right quick. The biggest thing is when it comes to modern society, especially what's happening today, all the things that we did as children while we were younger, it will not fly today. In fact, they'll be pushing their feminist, transsexual, LGBT bullshit onto you in elementary school.
That's the thing. I don't even know if can a clique that isn't part of a protected group even survive? Like could you have a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh nerds that want to be left? Like, could they just?
Alone. They'll be
that's
left
the thing.
alone.
But, like, you can be. You don't have like randoms being forced in. Because like
they'll be left alone because at the same time they're seen as unwantables. So like incels and stuff like that. They'll be seen as that.
Maybe, but I had to fucking gatekeep back in middle school with that. So
yeah, but that's middle school and high school. There's not that much people trying. Well, depends on what schools you're going to and so on. But yeah,
also depends who's in your group. Like if one Chad joins the Yu-Gi-Oh group, then you're gonna have problems.
Different people. That's what I'm saying. Like it's hard to just with certain aspects. But yeah, different people have different aspects, and there could be some guys that be classed as Chads that were nerds, just that people never knew about it or so on. It wouldn't be that common because people like that are normally shamed out of that aspect by people around them. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you find out someone like Henry Cavill plays 40K, and all of a sudden it's like, ah, shit.
40K is the most possible. Again, that you have to be really deep in the nerd culture.
Yeah, you're talking to a guy who's got multiple 40K armies. I'm well aware of how deep it goes.
So I just think about the thing like when women criticize toxic masculinity for the monsters they created. It's like Frankenstein's monster. Like you created this child or this boy that you want to call a man sometimes because that's how they act, and you're afraid of it, and you just like it because of how disgusting it looks. It could be, or you're afraid how dangerous it looks, depending on which form of Frankenstein you want to go with.
Well, that's the thing. It goes to a point where because we got to remember, women shit test. Like when a man tells you what he wants, he means what he says.
Yeah.
When a woman tells you what she wants, she usually actually wants the opposite. And so, like, when women are raising men, they'll tell them the opposite of what they actually want. But the kid is like, if I disobey this person, I won't get to eat. So they obey out of fear, even if they know it's wrong.
That's facts.
Well, shit testing a child is stupid.
But that's the thing. But like, women don't really know how else to interact with men.
Exactly. It's all they know.
Like they shit test and mind games, and then they wonder, like, why is this kid doing everything I say? I'm fucking with him. And the kid's like, because if I don't do what you say, you won't feed me. And then the kid just ends up subconsciously thinking, well, this is how things are. This is the way the world is. And the women are like, oh, why can't you take charge and authority? It's like, because you raised me to be your slave.
I'll say that these.
But I didn't want you to be a slave. You were supposed to defy me and take charge. Like, you're the one who controls the food supply. How much authority do I actually have?
I think I remember watching. I think I was watching Nick Lucada and like Drexel watching this really disturbing kids. Oh my days! It was like these East Asian kids saying they were feminist boys, and they made a whole song about it. And it's like it was so just like it was wrong on like an instinctual level, and like I knew it was wrong. I was like, who the hell is the person that made this? And end up it was a woman. So it's like. So you put a child in a situation where you're making them believe that masculinity is a horrible thing, which is it's the most beneficial way for men to act in a masculine way, unless you want someone to be crazy and have some mental issues, which are most people in single households most of the time.
So could we sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you can say what you say.
I was just wondering, like, I know there's multiple definitions of toxic masculinity, but what would be the most general consensus on the definition of what's considered to be toxic in today's standard and what's considered to be acceptable? So, like, an example of, I don't know, any general example that you guys have, I just want to wrap my mind around it to, like, gauge and feel, okay, this is what we're referring to when we talk about toxic masculinity that the 21st century woman doesn't want. So could we get like specific in kind of defining it?
Yeah. I can probably take this one if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm under the impression from like female solipsism, right? I'm under the impression that when women say toxic masculinity, they mean two things. First thing is they're salty that Chad basically zinc shotted her and ghosted her. That's the first definition of toxic masculinity. The second definition of toxic masculinity is when a man she does not find sexually attractive hits on her. I think those are the two main things that she means when she says toxic masculinity, in a nutshell. That's my take based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
So basically, like a victim, there's always going to be a victimhood and victorhood complex to that as well.
Which is exactly in line with female behavior. Correct.
One thing, I could expand on it a little bit there. So, because here's the thing, like, it's not just the women that are saying toxic masculinity. You also have men believing it.
Because they think they'll be rewarded with box.
Here's the thing, but the men have to have an idea of what toxic masculinity is.
They don't know.
I think it could be some. Well, that's the thing. I think. Well, no, because like we have to agree, there are men that act like shit. Like they exist.
Of course.
So that's the thing. But their behavior, like I put it as again, male authority without responsibility.
Well, that will be a reasonable sense of it. But
that would be a male definition of it. Correct. But again, that's how we would define it. But from a perspective of female solipsism, when like some friggin' purple-haired lady on college campus, when she's saying toxic masculinity, I think what Real Talk was asking, what does she mean when she says it? You and I, we're reasonable, logical creatures. Of course, we look at it like, yes, when he's a narcissistic, abusive piece of shit. Yes, that's clearly toxic. That's clearly not good or conducive for a stable, healthy relationship or family unit. 100%.
I think
and
it also
therefore
goes with
society
means.
Well, like Chad's thing.
She means I don't like what you say, so I'm going to shame what you're saying to the point where possibly your reputation will be ruined, or worse comes to worse, you may be put in jail.
Correct. But the part they don't tell you, again, which I think it ties to the whole, oh, creep this, creep that, whatever. Maybe that was an oversimplification. But the idea is that women only do that to men they do not find attractive. They will only treat men like that way. She will never do that to Chad.
I agree.
Yeah.
She won't do that to Chad unless the Chad does some crazy stuff to make her that pissed off.
Correct. Because of Halo effect, there is she believes because of Halo effect that he has the authority. And because of that, she automatically defers to him and respects him. But a man who isn't that attractive, she's going to shit test him relentlessly. And that's what we're seeing.
She makes all the rules for the Bailiffs, but then breaks them for the Chad.
Pretty much, yeah. It is like that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think part of it's like, those are when she calls them toxic masculinity, probably just because like the R word doesn't work. Like, it's just a word that she uses in order to get like simps riled up.
The R word, are you saying grape?
Yeah, I don't even want to use that because it sounds too similar.
It's all good. It's just you can't get in trouble for saying grape.
Yeah, but anyway. So like that word doesn't work. Like, if she just screams it every time a man's acting remotely creepy, because we're numb to it now. So instead, like, oh, he's a toxic male, that's a signal to all the simps to go, oh, well, I can prove that I'm a non-toxic male by stepping to milady's defense.
Exactly.
Captain Saberho, huh?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's not even that they're doing that. Like, basically, for a woman, a toxic male, like toxic masculinity, is just any male behavior that does not benefit her.
Yeah.
I agree with that definition.
Yeah, that basically combines the two things I said, the two situations. So I agree with that as well. It's much more simplified. Yeah.
Whereas men hear that and they associate it with males acting without accountability or responsibility.
AKA the bad boys that they pursue and don't deem toxically masculine, and then they bitch at us. Yep.
So I got an interesting. Wait, sorry to cut you off. I just have an interesting question about that specific point you just brought up. Right? When have we not heard women go, "Oh well, this guy I was with, he was toxic"? When have we not heard that?
Never.
That's the thing. Like, they need to make every guy that they've ever been with the bad.
Exactly.
Acknowledge their own flaws. Sympathy from.
Hey, Gray, you're going to
They're not going to
BB
their bad behavior.
You're going BB boop bop on me. Can't understand.
Oh shit. Sorry. Then I'll repeat. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, a woman is going to make every ex of hers a bad guy, because otherwise she'd have to acknowledge her own flaws, and if she's trying to gain sympathy or court another dude, she needs to present herself as good as possible, and the only way to do that is by shitting on every man who's rejected.
Correct.
Exactly.
And I'll take it a step further. Again, it always comes back to what I like to call the ooga booga, the factory setting impulse. It always comes back to that. Avoid social disapproval, because if you get social disapproval, there is some reptilian shit in her brain that says, exile from tribe, congratulations, the bear is going to eat you for lunch. We know it's not going to happen, but her reptilian brain is what drives her to do that. Yep.
But reject her herself. She's the Tasmanian devil, because, of course, there's nothing wrong with her. There's something wrong with you. According to what her mind says. There's nothing wrong with her. You just don't see her attractive enough.
Nah.
When you reject her.
Yeah, these girls are funny, man. They're like, oh no, you just can't see the good in me. No, the problem is you're promiscuous, you're masculine, and you're insufferable to be around. That's the problem. But again,
I can see your whole titties popping out. So
yeah, exactly. But
how
she can't
many
admit
other
that.
men saw that shit too?
Like, you can tell me there's a primo steak, but it's covered in shit. It doesn't matter if it's like, that's the thing. Like, you can take a freaking AAA grade T-bone steak. As soon as you put even a fingerprint of shit on it, it's inedible.
I'm not eating it. Yeah.
Listen. Okay, to all the feminists out here, we do not want to pay full price for a Lamborghini that has 200,000 miles on it.
Facts.
Be generous.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if it's the average dude. Average dude has some motherfucking standards. And that's the biggest thing that's happening in society.
That's the core of masculinity.
Yeah, majority of men have no standards, which is why they go on their websites all lonely and shit, donating to bitches on Twitch and OnlyFans. And then they want to act all shocked when these bitches have way inflated egos.
Yeah, man. And that actually, you actually just reminded me of something. I think I saw a clip. I forgot what it was. Like, it was some guy. He was trying so hard to red pill these poor sons of bitches, bro. He was like, yo, you keep giving her money. She's not gonna fuck you. Like, it's not gonna happen, bro. And this dude was like, no, she's my queen, bro. Like he just wouldn't get it. And I gotta tell you, man, like, now that I'm kind of unplugged myself, it hurts to watch that shit, man. Because it's such a display of femininity and weakness.
Which is crazy because a couple of simps that know my life, they don't understand. I'm like, I fucked like hundreds of bitches and I didn't have to pay for shit. And there goes you over here, let me get some donations so she can acknowledge me for a second or two. And then she's gonna move on to the next person. Like, motherfucker, get the fuck off the internet and actually talk to some bitches. Then maybe you'll get bitches.
Or paying a couple $100 for a fart in a jar. Is like, dude, you cannot tell.
Yeah.
Hot girl farts do not smell any different from fucking ugly ass dude farts.
I heard they smell like hot dogs, personally. That's what I heard.
It's crazy. It's crazy to the point in society where the only reason that all these women are succeeding is because they're riding on the coattails of lonely sips. That's the only reason why they're succeeding. Because if there was more Chads or more Tyrones and all that stuff, more than a guy named Hubert, frail, disgusting. If there was more men being alpha and shit, women will be almost powerless. Literally powerless. Because these Chads Tyrones, since they have the abundance of all these women, they to a degree practice dick discipline.
Well, that's the thing, because they actually have the option. They're like, if I say yes to this one, that means I can't bring over one of the other ones, so I'm going to hold off on this.
Exactly. And that's, in my opinion, that's what a lot more men should be doing besides the Chad Tyrones. You need to practice keeping it in your pants. Because
That's saying that.
once you get to that point where you're able to say no to most bitches that walk your way, they're powerless. Once again, gentlemen, a woman's most successful power is sex. Turn that shit down, she can't do shit to you.
The worst thing she can do is call you gay. So if you can get past that, you're pretty much good. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, see,
Well, nowadays you can just out her, pull out your phone, record her saying that, and then report her for being homophobic.
Yeah, honestly, like, I'm gonna say this, like, because I've had actually a couple of feminists who debate me and call me gay myself. I'm like, I should straight out them as homophobic, because here's the thing, right? You're calling me gay as an insult. Which means, theoretically, you look down on homosexual men. Therefore, It makes you homophobic.
Hey man, hey Dr. Red, what you doing?
Me?
You're not allowed to speak so much sense.
Oh no, Susan, don't get me on.
But when it comes to modern women raising the next generation of men, I'm sure you guys have. Do you have other points? Because if you don't, I'm gonna say some points myself. I have a few more points.
I
Oh,
think
were you here when we mentioned like the shit tests? Or were you out for that?
No, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, no. I think the summary, and the other guys can jump in on this. But the thing is, like, when a woman raises a man, she's not being straightforward with him. She's effectively shit testing him.
Women are bad.
Like, she's effectively shit testing him
Hey,
his entire
Ray,
life.
1 second, MGTOW cowboy. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah. What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you. You talking to somebody else in the background?
Oh yeah. No. Don't worry. I'm here. I didn't know I was on yet. Yeah, I was listening to all you guys. Hello and welcome and greetings and all that. I only got a minute or 2 minutes because I'm driving. You know, it's like unsafe. But I wanted to introduce an idea to you guys, and I wanted to hear you guys talk about it.
Right.
See, really, this is all about controlling female sexuality. So when women say things like I can't remember which one of you guys was talking about at length, toxic masculinity, toxic masculinity this, toxic masculinity that. In a way, they're right. The women, they see our desire to control their sexuality as toxic. However, the problem is it's not really toxic, because the truth is we do want to control their
shit though.
I'm sorry.
So don't they love that toxic shit though? With the
Well,
women, they love that.
Yes,
toxic
right.
stuff?
Especially if it's Chad or Tyrone. Right. There's that too. But the central point that I wanted to drive home right now was, it's like a good analogy to be made would be like a man with a credit card. If a man gets a credit card, he at the end of the month, who has to pay that bill? It's the man. The man is made to be responsible for the credit card. So because the man is made responsible for the credit card, he gets to have the power or the authority over the credit card. It's the same with the woman. The reason why men want power over female sexuality is because these damn females, they're always trying to get us guys to pay for their mistakes or for the consequences, if you will, of their sexuality. So a girl acts like a skank in her 20s when she's young and hot, when we're willing to marry her, but she won't marry us because she's got it like that. But then in her 30s, when she's STD ridden, when that ass don't shake like it used to, maybe she's got a kid. There's gonna be baggage. Now all of a sudden she wants to settle down. Now the men don't want to settle down with her. So, and who's gonna pay for who's gonna put up with all that baggage? The good guy. Who's gonna pay for this bastard child? The good guy, the guy who now she thinks that she wants to settle for. So the point I'm trying to make is the reason why we men, the reason why we wanna exert control over female sexuality is essentially because we're the ones who end up having to pay for it. And you can go on and on and on. I won't bother you guys anymore, but I'll give you one more example. Think of all these single mothers. Who pays for all these children to go to daycare, to public schooling, to go see a dentist and all this. It's men still pay most of the taxes. So the real reason, in the final analysis, yes, it's true. We want to control female sexuality, but the reason why we want to control female sexuality is because we're the ones who are forced to pay for it. So I'll leave it at that. That's you can just expand upon that. Anyway, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, Yeetus. I saw you and I saw you and TFM and who was it? Hammerhand. You had a real good stream like 3 or 4 days ago. All right, I'll see you later. Peace out, bro.
You good, MGTOW Cowboy?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to call in and just say that real quick. I'm actually on the highway. What's up? I'm sorry.
I thought you were just gonna like up and leave. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's just I'm driving. No, I'm driving, and I got a CDL, so I can't be pulled over playing with my phone. But yeah, man, you had a real good stream. You and Hammerhand and TFM. I've come to really like your streams, man. You're A1. You're first class, bro. I'll see you later. Okay, I gotta go. All right, peace out.
Man. Peace out, Poonie T.
Peace.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to give us a talking point. It was a good one too. I think.
Yeah, it was. It was
It was
good.
great.
So to die things down, because I'm sure you guys have different perspectives on the topic today. That guy Pete.
What's up, man?
So when it comes to modern women not acknowledging that they are definitely at fault for the demasculation of society. What do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like what I said when I first came on. I mean, at the end of the day, we do have a bunch of simps who roll over and they let women get away with shit. And because they allow it, women continue to get away with shit until they meet a guy like one of us who's going to put our foot down and tell them straight up, like, yo, this shit is unacceptable. And of course, if she's like a really hot girl, she's like, no one's ever talked to me like that before. You got to just kind of, stick to your guns. But because not enough guys are doing that and not enough guys are calling them out on their shit because they want to bang them, we have this problem. So what happens when you move all the guys out of the house? You got the single moms raising the kids. The only thing they know how to teach is the feminine way. You produce more of these feminine soy boys. That pisses off the modern woman. So to fill the power vacuum, they become masculine boss babes, and the cycle just repeats. And the only way you're going to restore it is by incentivizing the nuclear family again and getting the government out of our business. I mean, that's probably the most concise way I can say it.
So, what's your conclusion? Would you just shut down the welfare and stuff altogether?
Well, I think the best way to incentivize people to not take advantage of a safety net in the form of Section 8, WIC, welfare, food stamps, and all that stuff is, ideally you want to roll that back and probably remove it. Because if you remove the government safety net, where do women have left to go? Exactly. They have to make a deal. And then that's going to incentivize them to behave because they know exactly what they're going to lose if they do not behave.
Like I said, women, they don't be submissive unless they have no choice. Once your man realize that, the lot easier shit will be. All right? Because once they get a little bit of change or famous or all that jazz, she's going to think that she's better than you. She's going to think that she can catch a Chris Evans or whatever, which will just never going to happen. So,
Bro, she's lucky if she gets a half-eaten bag of chips.
But that guy Pete, do you have anything else for the Warband before you head out? On top of that, can you share your channel? I'm going to share your channel link.
Yeah, sure, I'll chill. That guy Pete, you refuse to invite to gatherings. That's my channel. Feel free to check me out if you want. I talk a little bit about everything, not just red pill. I talk about all the pills in the spectrum. So there's something for everybody on there. For last minute thoughts, I mean, this was a good topic, man. Thanks for inviting me. I hope we keep having discussions like this because at the end of the day, we're trying to unplug the men, stop them from self-deleting, and give them incentive to improve without relying on box being the center of their source of life purpose. So as long as we keep doing that, I'm on board.
Exactly. Can you post your channel link in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll probably do that after I get out of this conversation. But I gotta pull it up.
Can you put it in the private chat as well?
Yeah.
I'm gonna gonna post it on my the comments after this is over.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it. No
A
problem.
lot of people need to see your channel. A lot of them.
All right, I'm about to post it in the private chat right
You know,
now.
you're similar to Better Bachelor, right?
I mean, yeah, Better Bachelor and I are pretty similar in that, like, we've kind of just accepted that, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to let this, like, fuck up my life. I'm going to live my life. So, like, I'm not, like, going to try to change the world or anything. But, you know, if, like, 10% of my viewers are women right now. So it's like, if they're listening, if they're willing to learn and they can turn it around before they enter the hoe phase, they might have a shot. So I just try. I try to help both if I can, but primarily I try to help men. But yeah, Better Bachelor is pretty similar. He tries to help both sides as well. But we ain't gonna lie to you. We're gonna give it to you straight.
All right, too easy. I copy your link, and we definitely need to make a collab together, man. Because I definitely respect how you
Yeah, I actually,
organize your channel.
I officially registered for StreamYard and linked it to my YouTube account. So I figured that out. As I told you last time, I'm technologically retarded. But if I can figure it out, yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all.
All right, man. Too easy. This was a good conversation. This conversation isn't as serious per se, but it needs to be addressed.
I agree.
But thanks, man, and definitely join tomorrow's live stream if nothing goes wrong on my end.
Yep. If you're operating when I get off work, I'll be more than happy to jump on. In the meantime, always a pleasure, guys, and I'll see you around. Puniti.
Puniti.
So,
Real Talk is next. Real Talk. What do you have to say to the Warband, or do you want to say anything else in general?
yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on just the masculinity crisis, because it is a crisis, and it's kind of like difficult to just say it's attributed to one particular thing. But women, they don't like playing video games. And why is that? Because they'd rather play us instead.
Real Talk. You good, Real Talk?
You hear me?
Yeah, you cut off.
My bad. What was the last thing you guys heard?
They'd rather play us instead.
Yeah, women are playing us like video games. They study our behaviors. As we're toiling away and working and building our lives up, they're becoming experts on mating. So at the end of the day, in the 21st century, men have kind of looked for shortcuts, fake it till you make it. And that's where you have PUA come into play. And I think PUA has kind of polluted the well for men and what men need to focus on, being like themselves instead of women. So it's put this huge emphasis on worshiping women. And I think it's a millennial thing, especially because the Generation Z, the young kids, they understand the term simp more. The social media has gotten it around. So essentially, you have to protect your masculinity at all costs, because that, along with your testosterone, is what keeps you vigilant against this crisis of women trying to study you like you're some sort of science textbook.
I see what you're saying, man. I see what you're saying. All right, like it went on for a minute though. You had a lot to say, but you weren't here the entire podcast, so I understand why.
Okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and dip out.
Oh, so you got nothing to say to the Warband?
Oh no! I was gonna say Puniti.
What do you, no overview of your thoughts on the lack of masculinity?
Yeah, I mean the lack of masculinity kind of has to do with not mastering your sex drive, falling into porn and whatnot, and like basically you got to look at the men back in the day, how the virginity rate has skyrocketed, and those men had to wait 90 days. Those men didn't have porn. So how is it that those men were more masculine, getting more sex at a younger age? It isn't just the Chads and Tyrones have increased, or women's specific desire for those men have increased. porn and men finding an outlet besides a woman's vessel, and understanding what it takes, how to truly be masculine, because a woman's femininity is what truly submits to a man's masculinity. These women don't want to fuck the average guy today, because the average guy a lot of the time is feminized. He does believe in certain things that he shouldn't, and he carries himself in a certain way. So we have to be more introspective on this topic, and not just always, okay, the women control the mating and dating, so it's the single mothers or it's the people who raise them. We got to kind of look at and mastering ourselves more or less to combat this masculinity crisis. That's my main thing, is keep that testosterone high, keep your sex drive limited, but keep your gym and maintenance and development drive through the roof, because you maintaining your seed and propagating it only in the way in which you want is going to be the best way to weed your way through this mess of being a man today, so, but yeah, I'm going to digress.
Hey, man, I like what you said, bro. There was a lot of truth in that shit, but...
Try to arrange it, but...
You will be heading out?
Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I know you got a lot to close up on.
All right, man. Puniti.
Peace out.
So the person that's next is Special K. Special K, do you have anything to say to the crowd when it comes to modern women, let alone older modern women trying to do some crazy shit when it comes to classrooms or work or all the other stuff? Because the lack of masculinity, there's some fucked up shit in the process, right?
Yeah. I guess I'm lucky that my mom, even though she broke up with my dad because of situations, she still knew I needed a male role figures, and through churches that were not completely fucked at the time and schools and so on, I found many role figures that weren't perfect, but they had certain aspects I could implement. So I feel like a lot of women know they can't be the best thing for their male sons and even their students. So they'll kind of try and, I think they kind of put themselves in a situation where they know they can't do it, so they get frustrated, and that frustration might come out in a negative way to their sons. That's one thing. But at the same time, I believe that there's no such society where only women and men control everything completely 100%. Even though women have majority of percent of control over children given by the state, well, by the state's power, I still believe that men, we still can do something. A lot of young men now are trying to find a way in life, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of lost. So the best thing I feel like we could do is just be ourselves, try and understand ourselves and our environments to the best of our possibilities, try and make it open enough space to where we will set new people in, but not accept the bullshit, so that when young men come in, they can find that we have some answers for their questions, and that we can refine them into better people, not someone else, not some amalgamation of other people's ideas, but that's something that's truly them, but is a true gem. You don't want to turn copper into gold. You want to turn them into a beautiful piece of art that's truly one material and never influenced by someone's idea of what they should be. So yeah.
All right, Special K. God damn, I'm gonna have to rewatch your part. You was spinning a few gems. Half the time I couldn't keep up. So I'm drunk as hell. But Special K, thank you for joining the live stream.
Thank you for letting me on. Puniti.
Puniti. Dr. Red Pill, you sound like you're typing an essay.
Just have to find that channel link to post in the private chat and the comments. But my perspective on tonight's topic, I think it was very informative, and my personal belief is that modern women today, I believe that they suffer from Frankenstein's syndrome. That's what I'm going to call it. They hate their own creations. They created these weak, effeminate men who aren't on the purpose, who aren't in the gym, who submit to their every whim. Therefore, creating a lack of masculinity. And what do I always say? Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. What do weak men create? Hard times. And that's my whole gist on the topic. And for anyone who is listening, I am Dr. Redpill. My main sole purpose is to stop men from committing self-deletion, as well as I'm just gonna put out there exposing the nature of these 304s as society tells you guys that these women are sugar, spice, everything nice, but I have a few things to say, and it's gonna contradict everything society tells you guys. If you guys want to check out the channel, feel free to click on the link and feel free to check out the content, like, comment, and subscribe, guys.
All right, man. Thank you so much for sharing your channel, man. You do have some great videos.
Thank you, sir. And to the Warband, maintain your values, maintain your morals, and maintain your standards. Punyaya.
Puniti.
Puniti.
Woo! All right, Gray. Only you. So, what is your overall thoughts on the live stream or the topics we talked about today?
Well, now slight different perspective, but I genuinely don't think that women want their sons to obey them. And they're confused that they do because they don't understand that the kid is entirely dependent on them. And the kid is afraid of, starving, basically. He figures if I don't obey my mother, then I don't get to eat. Especially if the father's removed, because then the son has no one backing him up. But the woman is essentially shit testing her son, the same way that she shit the guy. She expects a certain amount of defiance. And so when these sons grow up all submissive, I think they are genuinely surprised because they expected, he's going to be a super masculine, super defiant man. He just does what I want. And it's like, no, you've conditioned him to do everything any woman wants. It's like, well, I never intended for that. It's like, well, that's what you got because you don't know how men work. Like,
so, do you have a YouTube channel yet?
No, quite honestly, I got a ton of projects going on. I wouldn't have time to maintain one.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I got coding project working on with Ribby. I got some stuff going on in the art Discord. Drop in with you guys, full-time work, trying to get some side stuff on. Nah, I ain't got time to do freaking video editing and on top of that.
That makes sense. All right, man.
Yeah, no. So no, I more support the Warband from the background rather than being on stage myself.
I can respect that. I respect that. You're just not trying to share your artwork throughout the eras. Say, hey, I'm the one that created Mona Lisa. Give me some money. But thank you for joining the live stream, man. Depending on what happens tomorrow, I will have a live stream tomorrow. And don't do drugs in front of your parents. Puniti.
Puniti.
Woo! And there goes me. I'm the last one left, gentlemen. Before I head out, I'm going to say my little piece, okay? When it comes to the lack of masculinity, the audacity of model women trying to put it on men, it is appalling, okay? Because the entire structure of society today, when it comes to creating the culture and creating the next generation, is women, all right? From birth until adulthood. Your mother, your daycare, your babysitter, anybody that you go meet with at school, from elementary to high school. And then you have another 4 years in college and stuff. All right. The fact that you had to go through so much, go through so much just to get little to nothing in return, it is insane. Okay? You need to focus on you. Focus on your purpose. No matter how small or how big, don't compare yourself to all these other men. Say, oh, but he has this and I only have that. Blah, blah. Keep working on your craft. All right? Because at least the one thing that modern women cannot deny is men and women can admire craft. Whether it's mentally, physically, whatever it is. But it all starts from within. You need to respect yourself for this to even happen in the first place. For you to flourish, for you to dominate. Think on that, gentlemen. Think on that. This is Sir Yeetus. Hopefully you guys had your daily dose of red pills. I am out. Peace.